Okay, how do I keep 3 Siberian Huskies on my 8 acres from running off with no physical fence? First, let me demonstrate. Come on, dogs. Come on. Oh, there they are. There's no fence. They won't come all the way to me. They've stopped right here. And the reason for that is that right over here, there is a wire laying on the ground. That wire transmits to the collar that they're wearing around their neck. Look, right here you can see this is this red collar with this device on it is the transmitter. And I'm going to take this off. This collar has a couple of prongs that stick out. And this isn't on so tight that it's like stabbing the dog. It's comfortable for the dog. Especially I have the longer ones on for Siberian Huskies because they have a very thick undercoat. And so this is long enough that it can reach through their undercoat. It doesn't touch, really doesn't actually go all the way and touch their skin. But I'm going to demonstrate what happens is we take this collar close to the wire. Put it down here at, dog level. And we're going to walk towards this wire. And you hear the warning. At least I hope you can hear that. Let's try it again. You hear that sound? That's saying if you go any closer to that wire, you're going to get a little shock. And it kind of buzzes. It's not a horrible shock, but it gives them a little buzz that scares them after some warnings, and they won't cross it. Though these dogs, as you can see, will not go anywhere near that. Put that back on Asher so that he doesn't run away. Good boy. And I have 2 collars on the dogs. I also have the Whistle Go Explore GPS tracker on the dogs. And yes, I keep them on 2 separate collars because when you want to take the dogs in the house or in the car for a ride, you got to take this shock collar, this electric fence collar off of them. So you want to be able to still have their dog tags and their tracker collar on them at all times. So that's why I do 2 collars, because I don't want them all on one collar, because when I would take this thing off, they would no longer be trackable and they wouldn't have their tags. And this red line shows where the wire goes around the portion of the property that the dogs are able to have access to. Okay, so this wire laying on the ground is a thicker wire than the one that comes with the kits. The kits come with this skinny yellow wire that works fine, but I have found that it's really easy to break. So, if you're weed eating, mowing, just, running a dolly or a hand truck around or anything, that little skinny yellow wire breaks so easily with just accidental stepping on it and rolling things over it. So this is a really thick wire. I think this is 16 or 17 gauge, I forget. But we also sell this larger wire on our dog fence store. Okay, and in my garage, I have this base station hanging on the wall. And it works really simple. The wire starts right here, it plugs in. That wire goes and loops all the way around my 8 acres. The other end of the wire plugs right here. Simple. Now there are some places on the property where I don't want the wire to be laying on top of the ground. So I buried it. But you don't have to dig very far. So right here on the grass, the wire comes across this grass because I don't want the dogs to get over to where the house is located over here. We often do entertaining on the back patio. We have people over that might be dressed nice, and we don't want the dogs jumping all over them. So what I did is as the wire comes up the hill from down below, it comes up along this hedge and then it cuts across here. So I just took a shovel and you just stick your shovel in the grass and pop it up. Stick the shovel, pop it up. And you just tuck the wire underneath there and then step on it and the wire is hidden. You can mow. You don't have to worry about the wire any longer. You can also take a weed eater or an edger and just quickly cut a little trench that's an inch or two deep, and then you come by and you just sort of step on it and squish the ground back together over the top of the wire. Now out in the woods, I don't want to take the time to bury this line, but I also don't want it to get dragged and moved around on the ground. So I've discovered that they're called ground staples. They're about 6 inches long. And you just pound these into the ground with a rubber mallet over the top of the wire about every 15 feet is what I do. And that will hold that wire in the place that you lay it. And it's literally laying on top of the ground. And there's just some of these ground staples in there. Like I said, every 15 feet or so. We've had trees fall. We've had, herds of elk and everything else come through here. And nothing's ever been able to mess with this wire. It's never broken, it's never gotten torn out of the ground. And then the forest just starts to grow over the top of it, and eventually you kind of don't see it anymore. But it's super easy to install, much easier than a real fence, of course. But you can just lay it on the ground and then come back with a rubber mallet and use them. We also sell these on my dog fence store at bestgoodstuff.store. There's a link that says dog fence store. Click it and all the stuff I've been talking about is located there. And lastly, flags. You want to give your dog a visual indicator when you're first training them on this dog fence system as to where the wire is located. So I put these little dog fence indicators on the ground next to the wire, again, every 20 feet or so. And you can also use a roll of yellow caution tape that you just lay on the ground wherever the wire is and kind of wrap it around the wire every now and then to keep it in place. That's a cheap way to do it. I also sell the flags and the caution tape on the dog fence store. But that provides a great visual indicator for the dog as they're learning the boundary. And they'll get used to hearing the beep, 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 the warning, and they will listen to that and they will not cross or go near that wire if they've been shocked once before. And it's super easy to train them. You put your dog on a leash when they're in the center of your property, and you slowly walk them towards the wire. As soon as it beeps, you, the owner, you act like, oh my gosh, it's an emergency, it's danger, and you freak out and you run back towards the middle of the property. And what that does is it just psychologically programs the dog to run back to where it's safe in the middle of the property so they don't think to run forward and across the line. And it is the only thing that I found that works with Huskies, because even when we lived in another property, we had a cedar fence that went all the way down to the ground, and I lined the bottom of the fence with rocks. And these Huskies still dug their way out and under the fence. They still got out that way, but not with this. With this fence collar system, you can let them run all day long and not have to worry about it. We go to work, we go on vacations, they have the run of the land, and we never have to worry about them getting out. It's worked for over a decade for us. All of the products that you find on bestgoodstuff.store have been thoroughly tested by us and our family. We don't sell anything on there that we aren't certain works and is of high, good quality. So this fence system, I wouldn't recommend if I thought it would risk your dogs getting loose and lost. And it has worked fabulous for us. The only time our dogs have ever gotten out is when they've had the collar removed to come into the house or, to go past the line for some reason to get into the car. And the dogs get loose after the collar's off. And in particular, the video that I made about the GPS tracker collars, you can go and watch that video. So we always test. We have made sure this stuff is tried and true. And it's a really important factor to us in the products that we provide online.